Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo guy's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of row and flows like eggs. Looked at a while, lag, and pray for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand, new way you can go follow
God bless you, working on a plan to heaven.
Hey, One Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week we'll be running through the results and happenings from Raw on September the 15th to SmackDown on September the 19th, as well as the Wrestlepalooza and All Out pay-per-views, premium live events, whatever you want to call them. We're going to start with Raw tonight. We open with a long recap of the Vision, beating down LA Knight and Jimmy Uso, with Jey Uso, of course, making the save, only to spear LA Knight as well. It happened last week on Raw, obviously. The Usos arrive, and LA Knight immediately gets in Jey Uso's face. Jimmy Uso and Adam Pearce kind of break it up, with Pearce threatening fines and suspensions if they keep doing what they're doing. We get John Cena coming out to the arena to a hero's welcome there in Springfield, Massachusetts, where he played football in college. Played for them back in the 90s. So Cena talks about how he spent a lot of time in this city, including at Springfield College, like I just said. He played on the offensive line, meaning his name never got into the paper, and he would get beaten up every week and then come back the next day and do it again and again and again. That's what got him ready for WWE, and now he's here in front of his friends and family. He says hey to his immediate family, and he wishes his niece happy birthday, and says he'll see her next week. She wasn't there. Cena talks about getting ready to face Brock Lesnar at Wrestlepalooza. He's done that more than a few times, and it's really hard. It's not easy at all. So maybe he should consider backing out of the match because he's only got 6 appearances left, and he's not sure he wants to get that beat up during one of them. We get a thank you Cena chant, of course, and that's why he's saying yes to Lesnar, because the fans are behind him. He's never fought one battle backstage because he's always fighting in front of these people and for these people. Of course, he's scared of Lesnar, but he's taking the fight to the beast because that's exactly what he does. And then he leaves to cheers and great applause as he kind of leaves the arena. We go back to Adam Pearce's office, where Jey Uso and LA Knight are still arguing. Pearce wants to keep things calm, so he asks Knight to pick a partner tonight to go against the two Brawns, the Vision. He says he'll take Jimmy Uso, which does not sit well with his brother Jey. We then move on from there. Lyra Valkyria defeats Roxanne Perez via pinfall following the Nightwing after Raquel had been ejected from ringside. And then after the match, she comes back. I actually don't even think she made it to the back. She was like still walking down the aisle when the match ended. She comes back. They beat down Lyra until Bayley comes out and returns and makes the save. We've had her in vignettes and the little interviews that she's been doing, but she finally comes back out in the arena. This seems to be Hugger Bayley as she runs over and hugs the commentators, the ring announcer, even some fans. And Lyra just stands in the ring, she's kind of like on a knee up against the rope, kind of recovering. And she seems very stunned by what is going on. So more on that later. Stephanie Vaquera and Io Sky have signed the contract for Wrestlepalooza, and they show respect for their championship match. The Kabuki Warriors come in, and Asuka wants Vaquera to face, not her, but Kairi Sane later tonight. Anna Pearce makes the match, and Sane kind of looks at her and does a little bit of shadow boxing to try to intimidate her, which was a funny little spot by Kairi. She's been pretty good at basically just being Asuka's bitch over the last month or so, because anything Asuka says, she kind of goes along with, even though she seems very apprehensive, of course. LA Knight then comes in to talk to Jimmy Uso, wants to make sure that Jimmy won't screw him over like his brother Jey has. Jimmy says LA has put him in a tough spot tonight, and he'll need to find another partner because he does not accept his proposition. We then get Penta defeating Kofi Kingston, getting his win back. when he hits a springboard Mexican Destroyer, which was really a cool spot. But he does this despite constant interference from Grayson Waller and Xavier Woods. We then cut to the back. Jey Uso is on the phone and says he's having some issues tonight. Jimmy Uso comes in and asks who that was on the phone. Jay kind of doesn't answer him and brushes it off. Says Jimmy has to turn down LA Knight tonight when he asks him to be his partner. Jimmy says that doesn't work for him, but Jay talks about how they have the vision at Wrestlepalooza, so they need to focus more on that. Jimmy tells Jay to change his tone because there is no Ulafala around his neck, and he doesn't tell him what to do. We go to commercial break, and then we come back, and Jimmy runs into LA Knight again and says that he is in to be LA Knight's partner tonight, and which obviously works for LA because he just needs a partner to kind of help back him up against the Bronze tonight. So Jimmy kind of playing Jay and LA Knight continuously against each other. We go from there. We have Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. They come out. The fans chant CM Punk, and Rollins says that as a result, he's ignoring them. Rollins addresses the fans on Netflix and then introduces Becky Lynch, who wants to talk to AJ Lee and Punk in person because unlike Punk, she doesn't insult people behind their backs. AJ Lee and CM Punk then come out. AJ even introduces CM Punk when he comes out. Punk talks about how he's known for his talking and asks which one of them is the team captain. They can't even get on the same page, and we had to listen to 2 terrible songs. He has no problem putting Cult of Personality on the shelf and lighting it up with his wife. The fans get on Rollins, so they chant something at him, like "We don't like you" or something like that, and Lynch stands up for him and says she likes him. Rollins says he's going to give Punk credit. Rollins says AJ Lee is the best decision Punk ever made. This is actually when they chant "No one likes you," and she said, and Becky pipes back with "I like him." Rollins means in Punk's personal life because bringing in AJ in is a bad professional move. AJ calls Seth Rollins sweet cheeks and says Rollins started this by using Lynch as a human shield. Punk has said he cared about himself, his wife, and the title. Lynch brings up that AJ has a bad neck, as she mentioned in her book, obviously, and points out that Punk got into a blood feud over a bracelet with his wife's name on it. That makes AJ a liability instead of an asset. AJ then says, "Well, Becky, thank you for reading my book. I didn't read yours." It's true that she has a bad neck, but seeing Becky's constipated face made her see red. AJ then says, "I'm a Puerto Rican from New Jersey. Sometimes I just shank a chick." So, good Lord, this is going places. She's ready to hurt Lynch, but Seth calls AJ little girl. The fans then chant "She will kill you" at him. Seth then brings up that AJ and Punk both leaving, talks about them both leaving and basically leaving WWE for dead or whatever, and suggests that Punk will leave her too eventually. That is enough for AJ to slap Rollins in the face. Rollins saying he would never put his hands on a woman. He knows someone that would, though, but Becky quickly bails. Becky says Seth got them into this and leaves, which seems to mean that they have, they're having a little bit of a tiff, but it ends up being a ruse to get Punk to chase after Rollins, leaving AJ in the ring by herself, kind of caught off guard when Lynch comes back in and hits the manhandle slam. She then slaps Punk before walking away as a bonus. So the Vision couple getting one over on Punk and AJ Lee there. So that would probably lead you to think the match on Saturday is going to go a certain way. So we'll see how that works out. We then get video of Worlds Collide, including Dom obviously winning the Mega title from Vikingo. Mysterio doesn't want to talk about El Grande Americano because he is the Mega Intercontinental Champion. Hold on, as there is a sound of a fracas in the background, though, and we run over and see that New Day has attacked Penta, and the War Raiders come in to chase the New Day off. So the New Day Penta rivalry will continue. We then go to a match where El Grande Americano defeats Dragon Lee via submission with the with like a camel clutch surfboard choke. I didn't really know what to call it, but he basically has like his legs interlocked with him, and he's doing a thing where he's like doing where like Rusev does the accolade, but he bends all the way back, like clutching his chin and kind of choking him out. So pretty cool move. Really good match on top of that with two guys that you may not necessarily um, think that could have a match that a lot of people care about, but it was a really good match. But there had been multiple Americanos that had come out that kind of distracted Dragon Lee. The original El Grande Americano was confused by the fact that the others came out. But seems okay with it because he wins, and then they kind of do like a little fist pound, little thing. We go to the back, and Laura Valkyria is going to talk to Bailey. She finds her personal locker room that she has, but here's a lot of shouting. She goes inside, and Bailey is alone, leaving Lyra even more confused. Bailey says she might have been changing or had company, but Lyra just barged in. So we're kind of seeing the other side of Bailey now. So we're going to do this split personality thing, seemingly. We're going to have, hugger Bailey at certain points, and then we're going to have kind of heel, annoying Bailey at other points. So we'll see how that continues to evolve, but pretty well done by Bailey so far. Rhea then comes up to Stephanie Vaquer backstage and tells her that she's coming for the title if she wins or if Io wins, and Stephanie says that works for her. Stephanie then comes out and defeats Kairi Sane via pinfall with the SVB. After the match, Asuka glares at Vaquer, but Io runs in to break it up. Asuka bails, and Io and Stephanie shake hands. We then go back to the Vision. They are ready for the Usos on Saturday, but they're also ready for Jimmy Uso and LA Knight tonight. We then go to the back, and Io Sky asks the Kabuki Warriors to let her do it herself at Wrestlepalooza, with Asuka angrily and begrudgingly agreeing. We then get the Judgment Day toasting Dominic Mysterio for winning his AAA Mega title, but Finn Balor isn't so sure about the victory lap. He points out that Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne had a rough night, but Raquel says they are okay. Finn still doesn't buy the whole deal with El Grande Americano and leaves. Rusev then comes in and offers a handshake to Dom, but Dom says his hands are full. With all this gold, of course, and Rusev says he wants to take the Intercontinental title off of his hands so he can open his hands up a little bit. And then we go to our main event where the Vision of the two Brawns, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, defeat Jimmy Uso and LA Knight when Bronson Reed hits the Jagged Edge on Jimmy. After the match, a beatdown continues to lay on. It's the way that things have gone over the last month or so. The Vision end up beating down people in shows. But they beat him down until Jey Uso runs in with a chair. Reed knocks the chair away, but then gets sent outside. LA Knight picks up the chair, but Jey kind of looks at him. Knight shakes Jay's hand, and then he lays him out with a BFT to end the show. So a little bit of revenge from last week. Obviously, Jay speared him to end the show last week. So LA Knight got a little bit of revenge by laying him out with a BFT to end this one. Stephanie and Kairi would be the match of the night for me. Just a really good women's match. That will bleed over to WrestlePalooza as well, because Stephanie is just an incredible worker. Everything she does is just absolutely awesome. She looks pretty good too, but she's a really talented wrestler. I've liked her ever since the first time I saw her against Mercedes in AEW. So big fan of her. And Kyrie's really good as well. She may be a little older than she once was, obviously, but she still can go with the right person in there. We'll go from there to NXT though. We open with a history of NXT at Full Sail. Obviously, it's NXT Homecoming. They go back to the Triple H era and even show him with long hair. We've gotten so used to him either being bald or having just a buzz cut for a while. So weird to see him back with the long hair. They say the idea is that we're seeing the future, including stars like Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, the Four Horsewomen, and obviously several others. There are all kinds of highlights that they include, as NXT has been around for a very, very long time at this point. I think 2012 is when it officially switched over to Full Sail, so we're going on 13 years. And then they do the theme song for NXT used to be "Roar of the Crowd," and it was set to that song. And they do kind of a modernized version of it with like Oba and Ricky Saints, Hank and Tank, all those kind of guys. So real nostalgia feel to start the show. I do find it funny that they showed Roman Reigns a lot in the opening, and I'm pretty sure he was on NXT TV like before the main roster, like maybe twice, which granted the Shield had kind of almost debuted by the time it switched over to being the Full Sail kind of NXT developmental kind of situation. So he was in mostly FCW, but they kind of feature him like 2 or 3 times in that opening video, and he really only appeared on NXT in his like developmental wear and gear, maybe once or twice. He obviously came back as the Shield Roman Reigns once Seth, because Seth was the NXT champion still when they debuted, so he would lose it to Biggie Langston, and Roman and Dean. I think were at ringside for that match. So, but they show him in the tights and the boots, and he just like that was like the one appearance he ever made. So it was just funny. But Triple H obviously comes out to get things going, gets a big ovation. The fans love him. Obviously, he's the one that started NXT as it is and as it was back in the day. He's glad to be home, and he obviously gets a welcome home chant when he says that. This place is something special for every talent who walked through that. And he starts to say curtain, but he realizes it ain't a curtain. It's more of a video board, so he says video board. He thanks everyone who has helped make this place work, including the fans in the arena and the fans at home. People turned this from a whisper into a roar. They are the ones who said NXT is the future, and then they said the future is now. Those same people then shouted, "We are NXT." So Triple H is here to say thank you. Shawn Michaels then comes out to kind of interrupt him. And then he says, as I came walking out of that video board, is it to Triple H? He thanks Triple H for the $1 billion deals and says his current NXT stars are ready to take over as well. Triple H asked what would happen if he wanted to come back to NXT. Michael said that would be a very, very big problem. So here comes William Regal as well, which is kind of, he's the most known kind of GM for NXT that they ever had. He was the NXT GM, or what do you want to call him, for a long time. After saying there is one way of doing this, the fans kind of cut him off, so he kind of calls him out for it. And Regal said the only way we can settle this is War Games, which makes no sense, but was a pretty funny moment at the same time. Charlotte and Alexa Bliss then come out because they will be defending their tag team titles in the first match. Charlotte says it doesn't matter who is in charge because the women have always run NXT. Charlotte talks about some of the great women of NXT's past. She mentions a bunch of names off. She mentions the 4 horsewomen. She mentions, I think she mentioned Carmella and a few others. But she says, anyways, they have a title match tonight. And if you have a problem with the women, they have 2 words for you. So we'll let you figure out what that one is. But we open with that match, like I said. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss defeat the Calling of Tatum Paxley and Izzy Dame when Alexa hits the Sister Abigail DDT on Tatum Paxley. We then get Zarya and Sol Ruka. They argue in the back over their lack of success as a team. Laney Reed and Candice Reed come in to argue about which one of them will be taking the speed title from Sol Ruka at No Mercy. Shayna Baszler then pops in and comes in to tell Sol and Zarya that they need to fix this before it goes too far. We then get Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams defeating DIY when Carmelo hits the nothing but net on Gargano. Kind of surprised DIY didn't get the victory, but I think they're trying to do a little bit more with Carmelo right now than they are DIY in the tag division. So we will see where kind of Carmelo goes from here. He has a big match on SmackDown for the U.S. title coming up later in the week that we'll talk about. But We then get Sami Zayn. He's glad to be back. He likes what he sees in Javon Evans. Josh Briggs then interrupts him to say that Evans is nothing. But Javon comes in and brawls with Josh Briggs. Whenever it gets broken up, Sammy tells Javon that the sky's the limit for them, and they have to tear it up in the ring eventually. Ethan Page then defeats Tyler Breeze via pinfall following a hanging twisted grin. After the match, Triple A's El Hijo del Dr. Wagner, or D Day Dr. Wagner Jr. Shows up for a stare down with Ethan Page. They had been involved in a 4-way for Dr. Wagner Jr.'s or El Hijo Day, Dr. Wagner Jr.'s Latin American title is what I believe it's called. And they had kind of had a little bit of a tiff in that. So they'll probably have a match, kind of champion versus champion match eventually. We go back to the back. Tavion Heights is annoyed by his lack of success, or some of his lack of success, but Damian Priest comes in to give him a little bit of a pep talk. I think he's more pissed that he's not on the show tonight, but Priest comes in, says he sees a lot of himself in Tavion, and Tavion is appreciative of that. Priest says he's here for advice too, which Heights seems to want to ask him a few questions before we cut away. We then go to the Grayson Waller effect. He has the guest of Ricky Saints and Oba Femi. They're already in the ring when we cut to the segment. Grayson mocks both of them to start, but Femi brushes it off. Femi says Saints can carry as many bags as he'd like, but he won't be carrying the NXT title. Saints ask who Femi is without the title because all he sees is a pampered athlete. Years ago, Saints gave everything in a tryout to get an automated email saying no, so he's coming back to get the title. Trick Williams randomly comes out and interrupts. Femi has something that belongs to him, and he means the NXT Championship. Waller thinks he's going to get a winner-takes-all match next week with Femi and Trick, with the winner getting Ricky Saints. Waller says TNA wrestlers won't like it, but no one cared about that company until he said the letters. Oba Femi then cuts him off and says he's ready to win both titles. So Waller kind of playing shit stir there and actually gets Trick Williams an NXT title shot ahead of No Mercy. So I have a feeling that's going to end in a schmoz. Maybe Santana gets involved and we got to get a no contest, double DQ kind of situation. But I can't imagine that this is the way that they would take the title off of Oba. I see Saints winning the NXT Championship at some point, but we'll see what happens with the TNA World Title. And I can't imagine anybody but Santana being the next TNA World Champion. So really confusing kind of match, randomly thrown right before a PLE, but we'll see how it goes. See who ends up winning. Like I said, I think it kind of they mentioned that the TNA wrestlers are not going to like it. They mention something later, so we'll see what kind of ends up going with that. But we go back to the back, and Ren Sinclair has some ideas to help the No Quarter Catch crew. Charlie Dempsey says the solution is that he goes to Japan for a month. Bobby Roode then pops in to do his pose, but Joe Hendry's name is mentioned, so Joe Hendry obviously pops up, and Bobby Roode says it was great to see a TNA World Champion at WrestleMania. So despite Roode being known as a heel, kind of played babyface in this little chat with Joe Hendry. We then get Alexis King. He comes out to the ring. He does not think much of Miles Bourne. So next week they're facing off in a lights out match. And the lights do go out and Finn Balor comes out to interrupt. Miles Bourne then does attack Alexis King from behind. And this allows Finn to hit the coup de grace to leave Alexis King laying to end the segment. So Finn came out to his old music. The crowd popped super hard for it. So really cool to see that. DIY had also come out to each of their individual musics, which was really cool. So a lot of nostalgia throughout the night. We get a Dark State promo. They're cutting a promo in the back, but Montez Ford interrupts him. He's by himself for some reason. Montez mentions the team having targets on their back and seems to imply that maybe he and Angelo may come pay him a visit. And they don't seem very happy about the fact that happens. They then show Bianca Belair in the crowd. She is there. She didn't say anything or do anything, but she's there in the crowd waving and kind of smiling and all that. And then we get Rhea Ripley, Lyra Valkyria, and Stephanie Vaquer. Last week it was supposed to be Tiffany Stratton, but obviously she got taken out by Nia Jax, and I don't know if the injury was real or if they were just kind of writing her off TV for a week or so. Um, she shows up on SmackDown, so obviously she's fine, but they just used that as kind of a way to get her out of here. But Rhea, Lyra, and Stephanie defeat Fatal Influence when Rhea hits Riptide on JC Jane. Lola Vice then comes out and kind of poses and celebrates with the faces that had won the match. JC's one of those people that she's not exactly the most credible champion, quote unquote. I feel like, she kind of won it on a fluke, and has continued to reign as a fluke. It's effective kind of heel champion kind of way to do it with a group, especially. But I do find that she takes a lot of pinfalls in these tag team matches, which losing to Rhea Ripley is not a huge deal. It's probably actually an honor at this point, but kind of strange that I feel like fairly regularly takes pinfalls in these tag team matches. So definitely a weird booking situation. But before we go to our next show, Trick Williams and Oba Femi are having a stare down backstage. But William Regal thinks that TNA stars are going to cause some trouble next week. Trick and Oba don't seem to mind the fact that that may be the case. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think this match will happen. I don't think it'll have a good finite conclusion. I think it'll end in no contest or a double DQ, double count out. I think it'll end in just a complete brawl next week as we continue as No Mercy will be that Saturday or Sunday. I don't know which night it's on. But yeah, I think that'll lead to that. And then obviously Bound for Glory that Trick is facing Mike Santana at will be a few weeks later. But yeah, I just think something weird's going to happen in that one. They've mentioned that there's going to be like a war with TNA, so I just feel like something's going to happen there. But as far as best match for NXT, I went with DIY versus Trick and Mello. So definitely check that one out. We will move on to Dynamite and Collision. They kind of titled it September to Remember. They were technically two separate shows, but I'm just going to cover them all as one. So we'll start with the Dynamite portion. We start out with the contract signing for Hangman and Kyle Fletcher. Tony Schiavone obviously running point in that situation. Don Callis cuts Tony off and talks about how Hangman took the title from him by beating Kenny Omega. Now, though, Callis has a better challenger for the title, and no one can do anything to a star like Fletcher. Hangman talks about being tired of all the interference in his title matches, and he sees potential in Fletcher. That's why he wants Fletcher to be a star of the future without the family helping him. Hangman has a new rule in the contract. If the family interferes or if Fletcher gets disqualified, he also loses his TNT championship as well as his opportunity at the world title, obviously. Callis kind of panics, but Fletcher is more than fine with these terms. He knows better than Hangman and signs, but Paige or Hangman talks about how he knows what Fletcher is feeling right now. What Fletcher doesn't know is how it will feel after All Out, and that's how his future will be defined. Hangman signs as well, and we should be done, but Fletcher promises to leave as double champion, and violence is promised for later tonight. But until then, don't just call me Fletcher. Call me Kyle Fletcher, the Proto Star. We then get a video for the coffin match between Darby Allin and Jon Moxley, a feud that's been building for months and building to obviously that match that will happen in All Out. Jon Moxley then comes out and defeats Roderick Strong via technical submission with the Bulldog choke when Strong, of course, passes out. We then get video for MJF and Mark Briscoe and their table and tax match. This includes MJF going in to yell at Tony Khan about the match, but Tony yells back at him and said no to what MJ suggested, and then MJF says he will kill Mark Briscoe on Saturday. So really fired up by both Tony Khan and MJF there. We then get Bobby Lashley defeating Toa Liona of the Gates of Agony via submission with the Hurt Lock. After the match, the Hurt Syndicate pretty easily cleared the ring of the new group called The Demand. That is going to be Ricochet and the Gates of Agony's group name going forward. So we will have the Demand versus the Hurt Syndicate at All Out. Tony Schiavone's then back in, running point again. He brings out Cope and Christian Cage, and the home country boys of in Canada getting popped for real hard. FTR and Stokely Hathaway then come out, kind of recapping everything that's been going on the last few months between them. Hathaway makes it clear that Cope will be heavily fined if things get physical here. Cash then talks about meeting Cope 16 years ago when he was a huge star, and then he and Dax became a legendary team. Dax talks about the two Canadians being a great team, but it was only because their competition was mediocre. We hear about the greatness of FTR until Cope cuts Dax off. Cope then talks about how he helped Cash, even letting him live in his apartment when Cash was homeless. Yes, FTR is in the discussion of the greatest tag teams of all time. Cope and Cage have been there for the last 25 years, though. They pioneered a match that became a pay-per-view. Christian Cage disagreed. That he says Cope and Cage, and Christian wants it to be Cage and Cope, obviously, back to the ENC days, because it was always Edge and Christian at Christian and Edge. But he disagrees on the team name, obviously, and says that a $500,000 fine for jumping FTR right now is worth it. So they kind of brawl for a little bit and clear FTR out of the ring. We then go to the Young Bucks. They're back in suits, paying off production to make their entrance better this week. As an apology to Renee for treating her badly over the last month or so, they give her $10,000 as well. We then get the Young Bucks. They defeat the Bang Bang Gang of Juice Robinson and Austin Gunn when they hit the TK driver on Juice. This qualifies them for the tag team ladder match at All Out. We then get another qualifying match, but this is for the last spot in the unified title match, which is Mascara Dorado defeating Beast Mortos via pinfall following a shooting star press. This obviously makes him the last man in the unified title match between Takeshita, Okada, and now obviously Dorado. After the match, Okada and Takeshita come out for a stare down, and this kind of puts Dorado in a weird place where he's kind of like the add-on to the match. Obviously, he's probably put in there to take the pinfall, which he ends up doing. I'll go ahead and spoil that. But to kind of put his stamp on it, he does go out and dive onto Okada, and then he himself kind of has a stare down with Takeshita. So it's really Takeshita versus Okada, but they had to throw a third guy in there, so neither of them really have to take the pin, I guess. They're building, obviously, to a match between the two of them, but they're obviously both in the Don Callis family, so somebody's going to get the boot, and somebody, I have a feeling Takeshita is either going to leave or they're going to kick him out because Okada's the bigger star or whatever. We then get Toni Storm. She comes out to cut a promo. She lifts off some nicknames of hers, obviously. She's still the champ, but it isn't clear how long that will last. She has spent every day of her reign like it was her last and loved every second of it. If you aren't willing to put your life on the line every time you go out there, then you ain't shit. If any of those three women want her title, be ready to burn her body and smoke the ashes. Jamie Hayter comes in, saying she's coming for the title because Tony invited her into the match. Chris Statlander then comes in to say she'll win, but Storm says trim your bushes, bitches, because they are all going to go all out. So real fired up promo by Tony there, and good stuff by the other two. The last challenger in that match, Tekla, then comes out and defeats Queen Aminata via pinfall. Following the stomp on some steel chairs. This was like an Extreme Rules hardcore match, what are you going to call it? After the match, Tekla calls out Toni Storm, so they obviously brawl, and then the other challengers, Statlander and Hayter, come out, and the rest of the Triangle of Madness, obviously Julia Hart and Sky Blue, come in to join in. Statlander leaves, and the Triangle of Madness are chased off, leaving Hayter and Storm to kind of have a big stare down. We then get Christopher Daniels. He gives Top Flight a pep talk before their qualifying match for the ladder match later tonight. We then get another qualifying match where Jet Speed defeats the Matriarchy when Speedball hits the tornado kick on Kip Sabian. This obviously qualifies them for the ladder match. We then get a promo from Big Bill, who is still ready for Eddie Kingston, but he doesn't believe it's happening until Eddie shows up. If Kingston shows up, Bill will prove that Eddie Kingston is a fraud. We then get a interview from earlier today where Bryan Danielson sat down with Darby Allin, talks about him climbing Mount Everest because he was tired of living someone else's life. He thought that he was going to die up there a few times, but he was going to plant the AEW flag on the top of the world. Darby Allin talks about his uncle dying in the car wreck they were in when Allin was 5, and talks about Sting, who he said he would never let down. Danielson has to promise to not interfere in the match on Saturday. Danielson agrees, but whispers something to Darby Allin, and Darby agrees to do that as well, whatever it was. We then get Riho defeating Robin Renegade via pinfall with a crucifix bomb. Post-match, Monet stares at Rio with Renegade jumping Rio from behind, and then Monet comes in and hits a backstabber to leave Riho laying. Daniel Garcia then challenges Katsuyori Shibata to a match on the All Out pre-show and says he wants to finish him off for good. Obviously, Shibata's had concussion issues in the past, and he wants to kind of target that brain of Shibata that has been so affected throughout the years. Samoa Joe then pops up after Garcia does this challenge and accepts on Shibata's behalf. And then we get our main event, our last qualifying match for the ladder match, and that is the Don Callis family of Josh Alexander and Hechicero defeating Top Flight when Hechicero hits a Hurricane Rana driver on Dante. This qualifies them for the ladder match, like I said, and the rest of the teams from the match, obviously Jet Speed, the champs Brodito, and the Young Bucks all come out and get into a big brawl. Bandito hits a big dive to kind of take out a pile of bodies. Hangman then comes in to help and take out the Don Callis family, but Rocky Romero grabs his leg, allowing Kyle Fletcher to run in and beat him down. Hangman fights back, but gets belted in the face, and a brainbuster off the apron through a table leaves Hangman laying to end the show. So the Don Callis family, again, ends up on top to end the episode. I thought the Luchadors match between Dorado and Mortos was the best match of the show. That tag match at the end was very good as well. Honestly, all the tag matches were pretty solid throughout, but not a bad little episode or combined episodes of Collision and Dynamite there, but a 3-hour block. Pretty solid throughout. So, but we'll go to Impact from there. We have Mustafa Ali defeating Brian Myers to start the show via pinfall when Order 4 provides enough of a distraction for Myers to miss a top rope elbow, and then Ali rolls him up off of that. After the match, the two teams brawl, and we kind of get a Moose versus Agent Zero showdown, stare down. Agent Zero is able to drop him with a headbutt, but Moose pops back up, and they kind of have to be held apart. Santino then comes out and says they will face, both groups will face each other in hardcore war at Bound for Glory. So one to look forward to for sure. The Nemeths are then interviewed in the back. They're ready to get their tag team titles back because it is not a ladder match and they can outclass anyone in a regular wrestling match. We then get the personal concierge. He walks in to suggest to Danny Luna that she could get the Bound for Glory title shot if she just takes out Indy Hartwell tonight. Danny Luna seems to think and have a good idea about that situation. She thinks that's a good idea. We then go back and show the setup for the Obafemi versus Trick Williams winner take all match next week on NXT. We show that ODB is here tonight. She has her food truck with her, as that's kind of what she's done in her post-wrestling career. She has a food truck that travels around. So she's there, and they show a few superstars kind of checking out her stuff. We then get a match where Judas Icarus scores an upset on Eric Young via pinfall. He scores a roll-up after Joe Hendry comes out to provide a distraction to EY. EY, after the match, knocks out a referee to kind of show he's incredibly frustrated, obviously. We then get Victoria Crawford. Her talk show is back for the second week in a row. She's calling it Mentor You. And she has Jody Thread on as a guest. Crawford again brings up Gia Miller, who comes out and interrupts and threatens Tessa Blanchard again. That doesn't work for Crawford, though, who does not like profanity on her show. We then get the Rascals. They're in their clubhouse, doing their usual things. They're happy that Myron Reed is going to get an X Division title match, and then they get to let off some steam and some smoke. Obviously, Santino pops in for a minute, spends most of the time coughing, but he is offered a cookie at some point and partakes, of course. Um, we then get the Elegance brand. They defeat the Inspiration and Masha Slamovich when something gets thrown in Cassie Lee's eyes, which allows M by Elegance to get a roll-up victory. So a lot of roll-up victories on Impact tonight. I think that's the third one so far in as many matches. So roll-up city on Impact tonight. Frankie Kazarian then hosts his talking show, The King's Speech. He says, now it's time to make this city focus on a king rather than a prince. His guest this week is himself, as he is ready to become the next international champion. He says that's not all, though, as he has another guest as well, and it's the returning Mr. Anderson. Who has come back to have a little program here, it seems. Anderson calls this home, and he is happy to be back in a TNA ring for the first time in 9 years. Kazarian brings up Mr. Anderson's military career, but thinks that Anderson seems more like a coward to him. He asks what branch Kazarian served in, and Kazarian brings up Anderson's family being here. Would Anderson's mother and kids be okay with seeing Kazarian give their father and son a beating? Kazarian keeps trash talking until Anderson goes after him, with Jake Something running in to take Anderson down. And then Steve Macklin comes in to make the save. So seemingly setting up maybe a tag match for either Bound for Glory or Victory Road, because they have Victory Road to look forward to before Bound for Glory. So we'll see if they do that tag match there or at Bound for Glory. But we then have our match with Indy Hartwell and Danny Luna. Indy Hartwell wins by DQ when Danny Luna nails her with a chair in the ribs. And after the match, she continues to wear her out with the chair. We then cut to the back. Lei Ying Lee and Zaya Brookside talk about being great friends and dub themselves the Angel Warriors. So seemingly they're going to be a tag team going forward pretty regularly. Maybe going to contend with the Inspiration and going after the Elegance brand, who are the champions right now. We then get Mike Santana. He defeats AJZ in about 30 seconds with the spin the block clothesline. Santana calls out Trick Williams before their match at Bound for Glory, but Ridge Holland from NXT comes out and lays him out instead. So maybe another placeholder match for Santana before he gets to the big match at Bound for Glory. And then we get our main event where the Hardys retain their championships, defeating the Nemeths when Matt Cardona gets involved, allowing Matt to hit the Twist of Fate and Jeff to hit the Swanton on Ryan for the win. That was the best match of the night for me. A lot of squashes. Like I said, a lot of roll-ups, kind of surprise victories, and then the other match kind of ended up in a disqualification. So definitely a strong tag match, though. Check out Ryan and Nick versus Jeff and Matt. So definitely check that out. We'll go from there to SmackDown. Michael Cole starts the show by welcoming us in, but is told that he needs to head back for a sit-down interview with Brock Lesnar that was supposed to happen later, but Brock wants to do it right now. As Cole goes to the back, though, Lesnar comes out and interrupts, and Kerry actually picks up Michael Cole and carries him to the ring. He then puts Cole inside of the ring, which draws Corey Graves from the announce table and tries to keep the peace a little bit. But Lesnar lays him out with an F5 and then grabs the camera to shout that he's coming for John Cena's blood. That's not enough, though, as Lesnar goes back and hits yet another F5 on Corey Graves. So obviously Corey Graves hasn't been able to wrestle for the last however many years. I think it's going on about 10 at this point, if not more. I think he finally got somewhat cleared last year. Within the last year or so, or 2 years. So it's good to see him actually take a little bit of physicality, because that means maybe he can get back in the ring. He was not always the most not the most entertaining wrestler. He was kind of real submission based and a little bit boring at points. So I'm not sure I'm super excited about that, but good to see he's healthy enough to take bumps. Maybe it means he can get back in there, because that would be good for him to kind of have that time in the ring that he obviously lost over these years. But we come back from commercial. Corey Graves is continued to be laid out. We look at the replays of again. He's kind of getting taken out to the back by medical team, of course. Lesnar is kind of shown walking through the back, runs into the Vision and Paul Heyman. He says he and Paul Heyman should talk. With Heyman smiling and nodding, thinking that would be a good idea. Lesnar then leaves. Nick Aldis comes in to say that this isn't the time for the Vision. He has too much going on, but Heyman says he's here to broker peace with the Usos. Nick Aldis says Heyman likely knows that the Usos are already in Indianapolis, so Heyman says they'll just enjoy the show. We then cut back to Michael Coley's on commentary, and he is rather disturbed about the whole thing that happened in the ring. Says he's never felt more helpless in his life than when Brock picked him up and kind of threw him around. So, Michael showing the real emotion with his buddy getting taken out as well. But obviously was pretty thrown by what happened earlier in the show. We then get Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss defeating Chelsea Green and Alba Fire when Charlotte hits natural selection on Chelsea. We then go back to B-Fab. She tries to get the Street Profits on the same page, but Michin needs to talk to B-Fab. The Profits then talk about wanting the tag team titles back, and things seem to be good. Montez Ford leaves, so Bo Dallas comes in to talk to Dawkins. That brings Montez back to cut Dallas off, with the Wyatt Six coming in to take out the Profits in the segment. We then get R-Truth. He's in a neck brace for, I guess, the attack that Brock put on him last week. And he explains how to order the ESPN app to Los Garzas and how to watch Wrestlepalooza tomorrow. Fraxium then comes to the ring for a match, but the Vision then jump them from behind, with Heyman saying Fraxium reminds him of the Usos. Fraxium comes back in with some drop kicks to knock the Bronze to the floor. And some dives kind of take out both of them again. So Nick Aldis says if the Vision's going to be here, they can have a match of Fraxium. The Vision then defeats Fraxium when Reed hits the tsunami on Nathan Frazier. After the match, Heyman handles the announcement of the winners. But the Usos pop up on the screen, already in Indianapolis, and says that it'll be a different kind of match tomorrow for the Vision. We then look at some stars of WWE appearing on ESPN programming throughout the week, kind of hyping up the partnership and hyping up the show, appearing on First Take, Sports Center, just different kind of shows throughout the day and throughout the week that had happened. Triple H was on a bunch of shows. Cody was on some shows. So they showed a bunch of that stuff to continue to hype up the Wrestlepalooza show. We then get Nia Jax out to cut a promo. She talks about how crappy of a town Toledo is, talks about how the women's division is getting on her nerves. Reality is that she is the alpha of the division and mocks the Tiffy Time catchphrase. Then you have Jade Cargill, who looks incredible until the bell rings. That's pretty rich that Nia Jax is saying that. Jax again says she is the alpha, but Tiffany Stratton comes out to interrupt. Stratton is sick of Jax running her mouth and doesn't think Jade Cargill is a superhero. Jade then comes out and shoves her way to the ring. Nick Aldis comes in to calm things down and says that they will have a triple threat match next week for the championship. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I honestly feel like that might be the time to pull a trigger on Jade. Maybe Tiffany can carry the other two to a good match, but it's kind of a way to maybe beat Nia and get the title off of Tiffany at the same time. Not that I'd want to see Tiffany lose the title, but seems like they've kind of kept Jade and Tiffany in each other's lives for a reason. So I feel like Jade's eventually going to get the championship. We then cut to another R-Truth segment. He explains the ESPN app and how to order the app and log into the app and get the show to Motor City Machine Guns and Ray Phoenix. And then he, for some reason, puts his phone into a toaster. So more comedy gold by old R-Truth in the backstage there. We then get the Sami Zayn U.S. Open Challenge. Obviously, Carmelo was going to be the person that answered it. But he defeats Carmelo via pinfall, following the Blue Thunder Bomb. So he actually wins a match with the Blue Thunder Bomb, which is obviously a rarity. He didn't win too many matches with that one. We then go back to Nick Aldis' office. Damian Priest storms in and says he wants Aleister Black next week. Kit Wilson of Pretty Deadly is randomly in there. He accuses Priest of toxic masculinity, talks about his toxic masculinity, and then Priest just grabs him and throws him through a wall. So a little bit angry there from Damian Priest. So we then get the second part of the John Cena versus Brock Lesnar kind of history package, starting from Cena becoming the biggest star in WWE during absence. Um, sorry there. Meanwhile, Lesnar became the UFC heavyweight champion and turned him into even scarier of a human being. Then Lesnar returned to WWE in 2012 and wrecked a bunch of people on his way, including Cena. Cena actually beat him in a match at Extreme Rules, obviously, in 2012, right after he debuted. But after that, Lesnar went on a path of rage, and they even show him squashing him at SummerSlam 2014 to become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So, um, they showed the third part on the pre-show for Wrestlepalooza. I never got to check it out, but I'm sure it was incredible as well. But that was really well done. The first one was really well done. So definitely check those out if you haven't seen them yet. We then recap the feud between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre so far. We then go to Solo Sikoa. He's kind of in his dark room around his table like he always is. He talks about how Tonga Loa has been part of the team since the beginning, and Solo let him down by not making him a champion. Tonga Loa then says that he loves Solo, so he's got his back no matter what. So Solo seems to be rebuilding the family at some point. Now, I don't know that Tonga Loa would be my first draft pick out of who he had in his crew, because he kind of sucks, and it's kind of always sucked. But we'll see if this maybe leads. Obviously, it seems like Jey Uso is kind of leaning a little bit more heelish lately, so maybe he kind of ends up coming in and being like a co-head man with Solo Sikoa or something like that. We'll see kind of how that goes, but Jey kind of seems to be leaning, maybe going heel, so we'll see how that kind of goes. But we then go from there. We go to the contract signing for Drew and Cody. Nick Aldis is obviously in the ring, kind of run point, like I was kind of talking about earlier. Before they sign, Cody Rhodes actually brings up their time as tag team champions. Said they won those titles. I think he said they won those titles in the building they were in that night. The thing is, though, not everyone cares about that, and they just want to see people fight. Lately, the only kind of warrior McIntyre has been as a keyboard warrior. Drew bust out his phone to post "Thank you, Cody" on Twitter. McIntyre talks about how Cody is a company man, but he's been in Rhodes' spot before. What happens when he loses? He'll be in McIntyre's spot, talking about how things used to be. They both sign, and obviously they brawl because that's how all of these things happen. McIntyre gets the better of things at first. He teases to do the Claymore through the bottom of the table that he had done before to kind of take Cody out. But he doesn't do it this time because he is afraid if Cody is out of the match, then he won't get his chance to be champion again. Cody then obviously hops back up. They continue to brawl with McIntyre again hitting a Claymore to end the show, but obviously not through the announce table like he did previously. As far as best match for SmackDown, I would go with Mello and Sammy. A really good. I have a feeling as long as he does the open challenges, the Sami Zayn match is probably going to be the best match on the show. So we will see how that continues to go. We'll go from there to All Out, though. We open with Cope and Christian Cage defeating FTR when Cope hits the spear on Cash Wheeler to get the win. After the match, Mother Wayne and Nick Wayne come out. Nick Wayne's in a wheelchair, obviously, with his broken foot. So FTR attacks. They're calling him CNC instead of ENC from behind, with Kip Sabian joining in. Cope then gets handcuffed to the ropes while FTR hit a spike pile driver on Cage. Beth Copeland, whatever you want to call her, had gotten involved and taken Stokely away from ringside so he wouldn't continue to get involved. She's trying to undo the cuffs, realizes she can't do it. She gives him a kiss, turns around, and starts fighting FTR herself. Dax then grabs her, and then they hit her with a spike pile driver. So real emotional situation there. I don't know that a lot of people care about it, but I sure don't. But I a very dramatic situation for a feud that I could care less about, honestly. I used to be a huge Edge fan, but he has not hit with me in this run so far. But I won't dig too much into that. But not the drama that I kind of want out of AEW at this point, I guess. But some way to keep it going. Whatever. But we go to our next match. It is the return of Eddie Kingston. He defeats Big Bill via pinfall. With a spinning back fist. Tony Schiavone even calls out on commentary that he maybe missed the back fist, but it ends up being the finishing shot. He gets the pinfall off of it. So not the best camera work or commentary spot there from Tony. But after the match, Brian Keith attacks Eddie Kingston, and the lights go out, and Hook comes out. So Hook kind of teased a partnership with somebody, and it seems he's going to be buddies with Eddie Kingston going forward. Big Bill runs off as Hook catches Brian Keith with the red rum. And like I said, and then Kingston again hits the back fist, and then Eddie and Hook embrace. So it seems like Eddie Kingston may be Hook's mentor going forward. We then get Mark Briscoe defeating MJF in the tables and tacks match when he hits multiple froggy bows, and then he hits a J Driller onto the tacks. So I think he hit a few froggy bows back and forth. So. But glad to see Mark Briscoe actually get the win over MJF. He's been fighting to get past him for the last little while. So I'd be okay with this feud ending here. And Briscoe maybe pursuing Kyle Fletcher in the TNT Championship because that was something he was doing before. But we go to the back. Lexi Nair catches up with Anthony Bowens and Max Caster as well as Jerry Lynn. This is after Dynamite Collision the other night. Jerry Lynn tells them that they work best when they work well together. Jerry Lynn got them a tag team match together, but they both hate the idea of doing that. Jerry Lynn says if they don't show up, they'll both be suspended. Bowen says seeing as Caster has already been suspended a few times, has he got any advice? So a real slap to the face. They could then continue to kind of trade barbs back and forth, and then Caster kind of shoves Bowens. Bowens turns his back, and when he turns back around, Caster's gone. So we'll see if they go with the Acclaimed going forward. They broke them up for a reason. It hasn't seemed to work out for very well for either guys, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm good with them staying apart, but I'm okay with them getting back together, I guess. We then get the Demand, obviously Ricochet and the Gates of Agony, like I talked about before, defeating the Hurt Syndicate when MVP gets chop blocked from behind, allowing Ricochet to hit the Spirit Gun to get the victory. We then get Mercedes Moné retaining her TBS championship against Riho via pinfall when she hits the Moneymaker. Okada then defeats Takeshita and Mascara Dorado when he drop kicks Takeshita out of the ring, allowing him to crush a dazed Mascara Dorado with the Rainmaker to retain his championship. We then get Jon Moxley defeating Darby Allin in a coffin match when Pac returns, which is cool to see Pac come back. And he absolutely destroys Darby, allowing Mox, and he had actually even thrown him in the coffin, which allowed Mox to just slam the broken off lid on top of him to get the win in the coffin match. We then go to the backstage. The conglomeration are celebrating with Mark Briscoe being particularly happy. He's got the MJF monkey off his back. He says he wants to look forward. He's seen someone who has been a thorn in his ass lately, Don Callis. Wednesday night, Callis can pick 3 of his goons to take on Briscoe, Hologram, and one other member of the conglomeration in a 6-man tag. Briscoe asks Kyle if he's ready to come back. Obviously, Kyle O'Reilly. O'Reilly says he says whatever. Briscoe is stoked. Harley Cameron then comes in and does the Orange Cassidy thumbs up, but Roddy Strong lowers her hand and walks off. So Roddy Strong's still not in. They kind of imply that Orange Cassidy may be back on Wednesday, so we'll see if that ends up happening. But that would be a cool little return, and somebody else that Moxley can kind of have go after him as well, as they had problems previously. We then get Chris Statlander defeating Tony Storm, Jamie Hayter, and Tekla when Hayter and Tekla kind of take each other out, allowing Stat to sneak up on Storm and get the pinfall with the seatbelt pinning combination that Wheeler Yuta has apparently taught her. And this makes her the new AEW Women's World Champion. Kind of a wet fart way to end Tony Storm's reign. Not that I hate Stat, not that Stat wasn't maybe the person to give it to. Obviously, I think they're continuing to kind of tease that she's going to be in the Death Riders eventually. But doing it in a 4-way, I mean, and her taking the pin on top of that, like maybe a good way to make, maybe Stat covers Hater or something like that, or Tekla or something like that. But Tony's involved in the decision. She kind of gets caught off guard. Just I not the way I would have done it. I would have had her, lose it in a one-on-one match and really put over somebody strong in that direction. So we'll see what Statlander does with it, what Tony Storm kind of does from here, but not a big fan of the title switch there. Not that, again, that I don't think Statlander's deserving, but I just wish they would have done it in a different way. We then go to the ladder match between Brodito, Young Bucks, Don Callis family, and Jet Speed, where Brodito retains, retaining the tag team championships over them. A wild match, absolutely brutal throughout. And then after the match, Jack Perry arrives, enters the ring with the Young Bucks, but then he attacks them. Rocky Romero of the Don Callis family comes out too, and Jack Perry hits a DDT on Rocky Romero. A double super kick from the Bucks to Jack. The Bucks then set up the BTE trigger, but Perry looks up and smiles. The lights go out. We see a video package of Jack Perry digging a coffin up and driving it somewhere. It cuts to Perry reviving Luchasaurus. So Luchasaurus is here. No more kill switch. Double choke slam to the Young Bucks. He takes off his kill switch belt and throws it into the crowd. Perry and Luchasaurus then hug, and the Jurassic Express music hits, and Toronto, of course, does the whoa. So it was a pretty cool moment. Not a tag team I saw getting back together, but if it's a way to get Jack Perry back in the door, he's a talented guy, so he should probably be involved in the company. And they were an over tag team, so if they want to present him as kind of faces going forward, it could be an interesting way to go. Definitely a good team to kind of influx into the tag division for sure. And sadly enough, it's kind of a nostalgia act at this point with them only being like 6 years old, but cool to see them. And I'm never going to be sad if I have to hear that music going forward. So we think of Marina Shafir. She grabs a camera backstage, and Moxley is there with the coffin, telling the Death Riders to leave him with Darby. Moxley then bends down to speak to him once the Death Riders have kind of driven off. Darby then attacks Moxley from inside the coffin. He zips Mox up into a body bag, and he's about to hit him with a lead pipe, but instead sprays the body bag with petroleum and lights it on fire. And then Darby gets dragged off by some stagehands, and the fire is put out by a fire extinguisher, of course. And then we get our main event where Hangman Page defeats Kyle Fletcher via pinfall, following the buckshot lariat after a nearly 40-minute match with a lot of back and forth action. An incredible match. That would just be match of the night for me. The unified title match would also be up there for me as well, but I really enjoyed the main event. Fletcher's a future star. He's a future world champion for sure in my mind. And Hangman continues to be the dude and continue to be a great top guy for AEW. So I could see those guys wrestle 100 times and would never get tired of it, I'm sure. But Fletcher's probably not ready yet, but he will be. I say give him about a year and he'll be ready to be the guy going forward. So, but we will move from there to Wrestlepalooza to finish up the week. We see various people enter the building as they try to transition into the cold open, where they celebrate the history of ESPN and WWE working together, and just the two entities themselves having great history and all that stuff. How they've kind of been involved with each other in the past and leading to this partnership that they have. After they show that, Triple H is in the ring. And he says that this is the final form of sports and entertainment. Tonight is your first night, and welcome to WWE, welcome to ESPN, and welcome to Wrestlepalooza. So we get Michael Cole and Wade Barrett on commentary. Obviously, Corey Graves is still out from the Lesnar attack. And then we are in Indianapolis, so of course, Pat McAfee comes down to join the commentary team. He doesn't quite do the whole show, but he does bail at a certain point, but he does at least the first few matches, I'd say. We open with Brock Lesnar defeating John Cena after via pinfall following multiple F5s. I think he hits like 4 or 5 or 6 in a row and just absolutely destroys Cena to end the match. And then after the match, Brock looks to leave, but then he comes back and absolutely destroys a couple of referees, hits one with an F5, and then just chucks him out of the ring. He then again F5 Cena, and the kid they show a bunch of kids in the crowd. They are not okay. They show one kid crying. Brock pulls off his gloves and then heads out. We get a thank you Cena chant despite him being down. He eventually pulls himself to the apron. He's able to walk away, and they continue to chant for him. And then he offers, he bows and offers his heart up to them as they were a great crowd tonight. We then go from there. The Vision defeats the Usos when Braun Breaker is able to spear both Usos through a table, and then he tags in Bronson Reed, and he does the tsunami on Jay to get the win. We then go to Stephanie Vaquer defeating Io Sky to become the new Women's World Champion when she hits Io with the Sky Twister press. It's kind of like the spinal tap or spiral tap that AJ Styles used to hit. And then after the match, Vaquer and Io both share respect with each other, and Io even hands Stephanie the title. Stephanie celebrates around ringside, and her father was actually there to watch her win tonight. She's obviously from Chile, so he came all the way from Chile to celebrate her victory with her, which is really cool. We then get AJ Lee and CM Punk defeating Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch when AJ got Becky to tap to the Black Widow. After the match, Punk and AJ celebrate with Becky and Seth both throwing a hissy fit and seeming pretty pissed that they didn't get the victory. That match almost went 30 minutes, maybe a little over the top, not going to lie. It was a fine match. I wouldn't say it was bad whatsoever. It did go definitely way too long. A little bit of a wank fest, I would say, from somebody's perspective, somebody who loves all 4 of these people, probably the head man, Triple H. But definitely not a bad match whatsoever, but definitely went about maybe 10 or 15 minutes too long, I would say. But it is a 5-match card, so you have to fill out the space somehow. But I don't know if this is the match that I would have given that much extra time to. But again, not a bad match, but also definitely went a little longer than it should have. We then go to an announcement. The Undertaker randomly comes out, and he goes to the crowd where Stephanie McMahon is sitting in the front row. He asks if anyone's sitting next to her, and then he announces to Stephanie herself, she had no idea, or were led to believe that she had no idea, that she will be the first inductee into the Hall of Fame class of 2026. So obviously the Hall of Fame is tied into WrestleMania weekend. So this is a pretty early announcement of an inductee. I think somebody in one of our chats pointed out that maybe this is like the earliest they've ever done an inductee. Stephanie's very deserving. She's been a great character for a lot of years, has done a lot of good for the business. She also probably hurt TV at certain points in her career, but she's every time she's been given a spot in a match to kind of perform, she does her best. She's just like Shane for me. Maybe not as much in the later years, but every time you put Stephanie out there in a match, she does what needs to be done to make it the best that she possibly can. So definitely a deserving member of the Hall of Fame, and excited to see her go in and her speech and all that. So, and then we main event the show with Cody Rhodes defeating Drew McIntyre via pinfall following a Cody Cutter and Crossroads back to back. So Cody Rhodes continues to reign and Drew loses yet another big match. Maybe he'll get one day. I guess he did win the world title at WrestleMania not last year, but the year before, only to lose it pretty quickly thereafter. But maybe he'll get his extended reign with the world title eventually. But a really good show. I thought Cody and Drew was very good. I thought Stephanie and Io, as I thought going in, was going to be incredible, and it absolutely was. Tag match was good, and Brock mauling John Cena is always Brock mauling anybody is always really fun to watch. But him doing it to such a star as John Cena is always really shocking and cool at the same time as well. So definitely a solid show. Wrestlepalooza. All Out was also a very good show as well. Obviously, it depends on your taste. Depends on how much wrestling you want to watch. If you're a psychopath like me and some other people, you'll watch both. But if you want to pick and choose one has 14 matches, one has 5 matches. So it just kind of depends on what kind of wrestling you like. And all that. I would watch both shows because I thought they were both very entertaining. I thought the back half of All Out was definitely probably better and a little bit more oomph and stuff that you cared about in the back half and stuff. So, but Wrestlepalooza is a digestible show. Like I said, it's only 5 matches, but definitely check both out. I would if you're asking me for a suggestion, but definitely a good week of wrestling for sure. So thank you for joining me as always, and we will see you next week.
Crowd is here about to